Hey everyone, it's Kai from Cool Collectibles back again for another review. This time it's the Transformers Masterpiece MPG-19 Soundwave and Laserbeak animation repaint from the figure MP13 that was released about 13 years ago now. And I'm going to skip past all of the box stuff to jump straight into it to get into why I think Takara really shit the bed on this particular release. I'll go through all the reasons why. I think there are some pros, but very few and far between in amongst all the cons that I'll point out shortly. But in terms of all the accessories, you get the two collector cards. I'll just get all this out the way. Get the collector cards. Artwork is pretty good, so I don't mind that. And there's Condor, as in the Japanese name for Laserbeak. You get the Energon Cube plastic boxes that I think you got those from the original release as well. I'm not quite sure why they included a clear one. I remember back in the day I had to cut out a pink piece of paper to fill that in, but maybe that's why they included this. I can't remember. And this is the cassette holder for Laserbeak. If you ever want to transport it, I guess. I'm not sure why they included it because I've never used it. I've got about 6 or 7 of these in a drawer in my desk with all the repaints that they've done. So that's just going to add to that collection. You've got the chest plate, which you put over the top if you want to then insert these little cardboard cutouts of the Decepticon cruise ship there and whatever this alien writing is. I can't remember what episode that was in, but you can just place it over the top and clip it on there. And he also comes with his little fist swap out piece, or the piece that you can fit on his backside in bot mode, and that's nicely painted. This is the original here on this side here, which was a nice painted silver, metallic silver there. So I guess this metallic sort of purplish color is pretty nice too. So there's that, and then you get his G1 inspired rifle, and I actually thought it was painted at the start, but this is just unpainted blue plastic with the new red highlights there. And this is the original, and you'll see straight off one of the biggest gripes I have is the change in plastic color. But we'll get into all of that. So I think most of that is the same if I don't drop everything. The chrome is pretty nice. But yes, that plastic, it'll become immediately obvious when we get through the figure itself. And here's a teaser for Laserbeak. I'll do the comparison in a second, but let me just set up and I'll give you guys a closer look at Soundwave. Right, so here is Soundwave up close. And straight up you might think this looks pretty decent, but once you get into some of the details and compare it against the original and compare it against what Takara themselves promoted in the MPG-19 promotional photos, you really do start poking holes at what they've released right here. My biggest gripe, which might seem a little bit petty to some, but it's a big deal for me, is the faceplate. I guess the mouth plate here is a nice painted silver, but his face behind it is still unpainted blue plastic, and that is not what they had in the promotional photos. All of the close-ups show that it is painted, and the original Soundwave had a beautifully painted face as well. I can't zoom any closer with my camera here, but you can see right there that he has a nicely painted face, and all of the close-ups that you see of Soundwave in the G1 cartoon show that he has a white face underneath there. So the fact that they released it and got lazy and did not paint it, it really irks me. Plus the fact that they went the extra mile to paint the back of his head here, which was not painted here because this was meant to be, I guess, more of a toy homage. So the fact that they went the extra mile to do this and then half-assed it with the face itself just annoys the crap out of me. And I guess while we're doing the comparison with both of them here, that plastic difference in shade, it's not just a difference in shade, it's a difference in translucency as well. The quality of the original plastic is so much better in person. I think some people have said online that in natural light, this new version doesn't look too bad. For me, it doesn't matter if it's under these white lights that I've got here for the review or just in natural light in my lounge room or my home theater room. It just looks very plasticky. The old version here actually looks like a robot that is standing on your desk, whereas this one just looks like a toy that is pretending to be a robot standing on your desk. I think some others have said it's probably a little bit like the MP52 Skywarp, where the purple wasn't necessarily what people liked. I think that's a different situation where that was more of a paint issue, not a plastic issue. Yes, the shade wasn't ideal, was a bit more of a, I can't remember the term, whatever that, lavender or light purple color. But what we're seeing here in terms of the plastic is almost the reverse of what Takara did for MP Shockwave. So the original Shockwave looked like this, MP29, and the MP29 Plus looked like that, with a darker plastic, and I'll demonstrate that in a second when I get those two out of the cabinet. But for me, it's immediately obvious that the one on the left is more toy-like than the one on the right. And I asked my wife, I asked my kids who are not Transformers fans, which figure looks better, and immediately they pointed to the original release. So I'm not quite sure why they went down this path. It's a much brighter blue than what was also in the promotional photos. The promotional photos were probably not as dark as this one, but it was definitely not this bright blue that we have in front of us. So I think that was false marketing in my terms, as well as that faceplate I mentioned. So I think where they have done some fairly good things, like I mentioned the paint around the back of the head there, I think the yellow around the chest plate is pretty nice. I do like the cartoon inspired insignia as opposed to the toy. The silver, I think, is a lighter shade, which is okay, because I mean, if this was the true anime style aesthetic, they probably should have painted it a gloss white or even a matte white would have been nice, or a matte grey, but they've gone with like a shimmering metallic grey, which is just a tad lighter in shade than the original, which I think is okay. And the yellow on his knees there are a brighter yellow as well, which is okay. The darker shade in his feet is cartoon accurate, so I think that's really good. I don't mind that at all. At least they've stuck with the die cast down there as well, so the heft in both is pretty much the same. Although, yeah, I think it's pretty much the same. The other thing that they didn't do that annoys the crap out of me is this piece of plastic on the forearm here, where if I just bring out Sound Blaster here, so the original made the mistake of having clear plastic, and so it breaks up the red line. This one sort of blends in that plastic with the red line because they've painted underneath it with the red paint, which I guess is okay. But why didn't they do what they did with Sound Blaster and made that red plastic? If they went the extra mile with Sound Blaster as the first sort of repaint, they should have gone the extra mile for what I was hoping would be, I guess, the last homage and send-off for this pretty iconic mold. So that's another aspect that annoys the crap out of me. And then the use of the blue plastic for his elbows here and the hip joints here, as opposed to the grey. I mean, I would have actually have preferred if they had just stuck with the darker grey or even a lighter grey to blend that in a bit better. And you look at his cartoon animation form, you know, his hips area here are all pretty much, there's no breakup in colour there, so at least the darker grey here was a better way to blend that in, I think, than the bright blue plastic here. And then if I turn it around, there's really not much more to say from the rear here. Yes, there's the paint application additions here, which is okay. If all of this was a darker shade like that, I think that would be pretty much a perfect representation of what he looked like in the cartoon. Right, so in the end, I think all of those negatives sort of outweigh the minor pros that I've been able to find. I guess the biggest pro that I haven't mentioned yet is probably the tolerances in the figure. The joints are much easier to move, they fit better, they slide better than the original. The original, I was always scared of snapping something off, and I probably haven't moved this guy for at least 5 years, so hopefully when I transform him, there's no issues. But yeah, so I guess the biggest pros, yes, they've got the additional paint at the back, but screwed it up from the face itself, and then the overall tolerances for the figure. But yes, the use of the almost translucent plastic, I don't know if you can see some of that translucency come through. It's just a really cheap looking plastic. It's almost the same sort of shade as the Studio series, I think it's called, where it just looks like a mass market toy, as opposed to something that is designed and provided for, I guess, more higher end collectors that typically go with the Masterpiece series. So I think that's pretty much the close-up comparison. What I might do now is just get him displayed next to some of the other figures and give you a comparison of how he looks with the rest of the crew and the original figure. Hold on. Right, so here are some of the other figures with Megatron MP36 there and MP29 Plus Shockwave. You can see how dark Shockwave is. So I think these three with the original MP13 look fantastic together. Now if I just move this guy out the way and then move the original figure in, I don't think that looks better at all. I think it actually makes him stand out so much that people look at it and think, hang on, that doesn't go with this particular line of figures. Whether or not it looks better in just my home theater without all of these bright lights on, I don't know, but now I am actually really torn in whether or not to keep the original MP13 in the display or this new MPG-19, and I'm really leaning towards, unfortunately, leaving the original in the display because this bright blue just stands out way too much. And just on, while I have Shockwave up here, I'll just grab the original MP29 and give you a look at that. Hold on. All right, so here is the original MP29, and as you can see, if this was what I was going to keep in the display, that might actually look a little bit better with MPG-19 here. But as you can tell, the difference between these two, the plastic quality, the look, is just so different to each other. I don't know how anyone can say that this is more or less cartoon accurate than this guy. I don't think I have seen any scene from the cartoon where Shockwave looks like this purple, light purple weird color. He always looked like that. And in the cartoon, I think Soundwave always had this darker color. So for them to sort of say that the new MPG-19 release is the cartoon accurate release, I just don't buy that at all. It's more of a lazy half-assed release that unfortunately, I don't know if they've rushed it out or what, they just or what factory they used, it just doesn't gel with me that it's a high quality release like some of their other repaints. It's almost like they've got a trend where the repaints are starting to get just lazier and lazier, whereas the previous repaints for, I mean, even MP29 Plus here and MP36 Plus, MP44, all of those repaints were really high quality. So I'm really disappointed in how they've treated Soundwave here. But that's probably enough about Soundwave. I'll quickly get Laserbeak out here and give you guys a quick comparison of that as well. Hold on. So here's Laserbeak. There's probably less differences to go through with this figure from the original. And I do think the paint application changes they made are really good for cartoon accuracy. So I think the white tips of his guns here is definitely cartoon accurate. I think the matte white of the cassette face here is also cartoon accurate, and I do like the cartoon insignias here instead of the original G1 toy. I also have seen some reports of, I can't zoom quite in, but people have had some what they thought was molding issues or deformation of the face here, which I also thought I had, but then I got a Q-tip and just got a little bit of alcohol and warm water and just started wiping it away, and it turned out that a lot of that was really just some sort of sticky residue. So just be careful how you clean that up, but then once you do that, there shouldn't be any problem. And overall, he's still the little engineering marvel that they had from the original design to get the cassette form into this pretty amazing looking integrated vulture with all the weapons without having to have a separate piece. So I think overall for this one, they've done a pretty good job. But again, once I get Soundwave back out here, I think just in general how they've treated the main figure. Let's see if I can get him on his shoulder here. Alright. So overall, it's just a disappointment in how they've treated the main figure here. If they had kept the darker plastic, just been a bit more careful and true to their promotional material in the head sculpt, it would have been a far better figure for collectors that have followed the series for, God, almost 15, 20 years now, and just had a really good send-off for this particular figure. People were complaining about why there wasn't a 2.0, a true 2.0 of this, and I think one is probably not needed overall. The aesthetic of the figure still fits in fairly well. Yes, they could have improved it, and some of the third-party figures have shown how good some of those improvements could be, but I guess in the official line, if they had done this a better job of the repaint, I would have been more than happy enough with it, and I think it would complement the new MP blaster or MPG blaster that they've also teased and shown in some of the prototypes. So again, very disappointing. I'll have a good think about which figure I want to put in the display, but I'm definitely leaning towards the original, and I'll probably just transform this into its cassette mode and just leave it on the shelf separately. I'm not even going to bother showing you guys the comparison between that and the original cassette mode. I've got Sound Blaster here on the side, and for the most part the differences are pretty much all of the blue plastic that you see here. So I'm just going to keep repeating myself on those complaints, so I won't bore you with all of that. But that's pretty much it for my thoughts on this release. Let me know what you guys think of it. I'll post up some more photos on TFW and a few other forums, as well as the website and Cool Collectibles Facebook page and Instagram. So hopefully you can stick around for all of that. Until next time, thanks again, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.